Hi guys, it's me, it's Mattscreative. How are you all doing today? Now, um, have you ever watched YouTube and you see those videos of these content creators moving to Linux and then a while later they quit Linux or they do a Linux challenge? Linus is preparing to do another Linux challenge, and I figured I'd give him a little bit of advice of what not to do and what to do. SteamOS is not ready for a desktop environment, so don't use it on a desktop environment, and it's not going to be ready for a while. It's not. If you're on an AMD GPU, yes, it's going to give you performance advantages over Windows, depending on if you choose the right GPU. The 7900 XTX, fine, and the 7000 series, fine. But as someone who owns a 9070 XT, there is some performance regressions compared to the official AMD driver for Windows and even for Linux in ray tracing and DirectX 12 performance. So I traded one daemon for another, but it's not as bad as it is for Nvidia, by any means. Now, this advice also goes for Luke, who's most likely planning on using Linux Mint. You're not getting the best out of your Nvidia driver, not your Nvidia card by any means. Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Zorin, distros like these, they handle things for Nvidia incorrectly, where the driver is not always as up to date as it should be. Let's one second. Nvidia, Unix. You're gonna get it right. It does. Okay, so this is all the drivers that you can get on Linux at the moment. Let's actually zoom in because I know there's people that don't see very well. So this is the latest production branch. This is the one that Ubuntu, Mint, and Zorin should be using. But they have another problem. Their X Wayland is not 24.1. On Ubuntu and the newer versions of the distros, it might be, but on long-term service branch, I'm not sure at the moment. But if they have this driver, or even this one, then you'll be fine. But if you're stuck on anything older, such as the 555 drivers or the 550 series, you need to upgrade. And even if you upgrade, Mint is not going to take full advantage of it unless things have finally changed and they shifted more towards a rolling driver release scenario, which would be very good for them, as well as a kernel version choice where, hey, you just completed this installation. Do you want to use the latest kernel that has all the performance optimizations for your hardware along with the newest drivers, or do you want to stick on something older? Stability, stable. It's all a myth. I hate it. But a distro's stability depends on the developer themselves. Do they test their fixes? Do they push their drivers forward, like out and be like, hey, can you guys test this? I want your feedback. If their distro doesn't openly communicate with their community, the distro is not really stable. And that's the confusion that goes around. Is Ubuntu, Mint, and those actually stable compared to other distros? The answer is no, they're not. And the main reason is they'll release something, they'll be in beta, they'll expect you to give feedback in the beta, but they don't really communicate much afterwards. You can go into the forums, you can talk to them, you can do this, can we have that, can we have this, can you do this, can we get this fixed? Most of the time they won't do it. Now, here's where things differ for CachyOS if you're going with that. As you can see, they have a CachyOS repository. If you need something put into the repo, if you think it's going to benefit Linux as a whole for everybody involved, the community, like adding extension manager, I'm glad they did that. They've added a whole bunch of programs. Like right now, there's a commit that got merged about a bunch of recording stuff, right? And Dizzy's over here asking for a message to be pulled so we can have it updated. This guy's asking for a really cool program called, well, there's the name of it right there, which is an auto game mode. Like, this is about communication, right? And same thing here. We go into pins. You'll notice that stable testing is needed for 575. He'll make it so you can install with one command, and then you report your feedback here. This one guy had an issue where Stalker would not work on the 575 drivers just tried Stalker 2 with the latest 5.7.5 and I get a weird CTX switch timeout. I go and I test Stalker, it completely fine on 5.7.5 because I can easily switch back and forth between my Nvidia driver and my Mesa driver using Lutris, believe it or not. So we go to configuration, you can see I can swap back and forth and it will only use the graphics card that you choose. So this type of testing, this type of community interaction is important when choosing a distro. Like with Pikaos, here it is. If you have an issue, right, or you want something in the distro, you mention it to them. You could do it in supporter help, supporter requests. You could do it in the work in progress channel. You could do it in general. If something would improve Pikaos or something's broken or something needs to be fixed, these guys are lightning quick at getting it fixed, just like the CachyOS developers. Same thing goes for Nobara most times, and that's really good to have that interaction with the developers that maintain your OS. This is something that most distros, 90% of them are missing, is developer interactions. And if you go on GitHub and you try it there, unfortunately, you're most likely going to be met with hostility. Trust me, I've been met with hostility. I've asked the most simple questions possible, and they treat people like they are just the lowest forms of life. And I hate that. This is why I avoid most distros altogether. And then we have issues where a perfectly stable distro like Fedora goes from being the top dog for Fedora 40 to the lowest common denominator in stability in 41 and 42. It gets so bad to the point where Nobara has to actually fix these issues themselves, where we have to go and we have to find fixes ourselves in fixing Fedora 42 stability. Then there's still kernel instability, lack of patches for Nvidia and stuff like that. If your distro doesn't care about Nvidia, they don't care about their community. That's another thing. Like if they don't like let you share, hey, this is your desktop environment, check this out, this is how to do this is how to do that, this is how to get things changed. Like we have a whole thread here about fast fetch configs, fast fetch configs. I gotta delete this one here, 12 days ago. Dot files for hyperlink setup. Like, we've got everything. Okay, these are other people's stuff. You could post here if you need to, and like other channels have this. Pimp your desktop. Like, you get to show it off, and hey, that's a nice wallpaper. Can I have it? And most of the time, it will end up in the wallpapers channel, like right here. It's just a great distro is about its community. So choosing one is still a difficult process. But the three that tend to have the best communities are the ones that I mention all the time and the ones I like to work with all the time. And that's because they shine above all else. And that's what makes things really, really cool. And now the filer alarm is going off in my building because of course it is. Because why wouldn't it? Because I swear. Ooh, that's a really janky looking image. I'm trying to find a wallpaper to switch to real quick because while this one is beautiful, I'm not really a fan of it. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna use this one. I'm not leaving the building. I'm not. I don't care anymore. I'm trying, but it goes off so often that it's just really, really hard to care. So this is called Thumb. Look at that. Look how freaking majestic this looks. Another thing that Linus should look into is having a desktop environment, learning it. Like with KDE, you can customize it to a point where it doesn't break, but there are points where if you push it too far, it will break. And then there's Gnome, which you can customize it to hell and back and it will not break at all. You can install 1,000 extensions. The amount of RAM will not go up. It will not cause issues or bugging because most developers for extensions will test against other extensions to make sure their stuff is stable, especially against the most important used ones. So, like, choosing between a desktop environment that can be fully customized and somewhat customized is a good choice to make. I would go with Gnome because you can turn it into KDE, you can turn it into Windows 11, you can turn it into Windows 7, XP, you name it, you can do it. You can have blur, you can have a good dock, you can have anything that you want or desire. This isn't Gnome, by the way, but this is this entire desktop environment is what I did with my Gnome as an example. So I brought it over to Hyperland. This Hyperland is made out of quick shell. There's no WAVAR. The dock is all quick shell. Everything in here is quick shell. Okay. It's just really expansive. The world of Linux. And I know it can be terrifying. I know when you see this, people get scared. You don't have to be scared. There's backup solutions that are now built into distros that are easily set upable. There's new bootloaders that allow you to do snapshots by default. Gnome Arch itself, the vanilla Arch experience, Arch install has added the ability to do snapshots by default within Arch install. So it'll automatically set it up for you. How freaking cool is that? And explaining all these bits and pieces are something that I still have to do, but we have such a huge amount of videos explaining how Linux works as a whole, how to do gaming, how to do recording, how to do editing, how to do content creation, all of this. And that's something that people don't understand, is that what Linux is completely depends on if you're willing to learn it or not. If you are, you're going to have the best time. If you're not, and you just jump into a distro that is not built for learning, like Mint and Ubuntu, you're going to be stuck in this very interesting, weird hellscape that you're going to regret for like your life. And trust me, I've been down that road. We started this channel on Mint, and it was one of the worst decisions I ever made. Instead of just, because when I first went to install Arch, all I saw was the terminal, a black empty terminal. And I'm just like, no, I can't do it. Problem is, I could have done it. I should have done it. I should have pushed myself, because going to Arch Linux or anything based off of Arch Linux, not counting Garuda or Manjaro, is one of the best decisions you could possibly make. For one reason, the AUR. Wa-da-da-da. Endless amounts of support. It's just perfect. Discord's right there. Like, you have every version of Discord you could ever possibly imagine, and every version of every app, and you have every app available to you. You have a more expansive library than Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora combined. You have distro fixes from other distros that you can apply to Arch. You could take things from Fedora and patch them into your Arch Linux. And it's so easy because the AUR does everything for you. It is the endless expansive land. And then you got Pikaos, which has Picman, which allows you to pull packages from Fedora, from Arch, from anywhere. It also is an all-in-one distribution. It's amazing. So again, Linus, if you ever see this, and I doubt you will, what distro you use, you need to make sure it has an amazing community. One that you can interact with in real time. One that will not judge you, put you down, or anything like that. One you can jump into. You can literally jump into support as a newbie, start asking questions, and get help immediately. That is a distro worth using. Anything else? It's just a toy. Yeah. Gorgonites for the win. So, look, if you're a noob at Linux, don't offer people advice. Please, for the love of God, don't do it. You are not qualified. Not yet. We had a guy in the LTT forums. I decided to join up and take a look. That was basically trying to offer people advice on what a good Windows, that Linux is not ready as a Windows replacement. It's not true. And He even mentioned he's a noob. Most of his issues that he had were user error. And he states, I am a Linux, yeah. The language support is not good, which is not true. Again, that all depends on the distro. And going from English to Japanese, again, depends on the distro. So the distro maintainers have to add this support in. CachyOS has every single language that I've seen. He's got issues with scaling on X11 and Wayland, which is normal. There are distros that have fixes like that. Everything's been fine on KDE, so I don't really know why that's an issue, and Gnome's fixed it as well. UI bugs that Windows just doesn't have. Windows has tons of UI bugs and inconsistencies, so that's not true. GeForce Now has a native client on Steam, by the way. Bluetooth does not have issues for audio devices or microphones, trust me. I have enough friggin' what you call them, devices, headphones, mics that all use Bluetooth, and they all work perfectly fine. Fingerprints, options, they are a thing. They are. Again, distro support. Print. You just do that, and there's just an endless amount of stuff that you can install to get your fingerprint working. Driver options are the same as they are for Windows. Mesa usually has fixes for games day one. Sometimes 99% of the time games don't need fixing at all. You don't need an Adrenaline app for Linux. You have things like Lact. He says he's experienced in Linux and he doesn't know about Lact. Look at this. Boot up defaults. You have all the same type of options: VR, video, power saving, full screen, highest clocks, lowest clocks, manual. If you need to, most distros have performance modes ready to go, so you could choose performance, power save, balanced. Like everything that you need to do, you can do. And then there's programs like Core Control, which I don't have installed because I don't use it. But there's also, if you need to adjust in your fans and everything in between, you could see that you could do that for everything in here. CPU fans are currently not exposed because I didn't bother, but yeah, it's pretty easy to set up because everything has a DKMS if it needs to from the AUR. Most of this is sometimes included with the distro you use. So again, you've got GPU control, you've got fan control, you could see your power systems, your power, like your temperatures of all your stuff, you name it, it's there. Again, it all just depends on who you are. Sensor detect. Oh, did I mess up the command? Yeah, I did. Watch this. Done. And then I would just go in here and I would reload this by exiting and entering again. So quit. And then cooler control. We don't have much else in here. I need to figure out what the DKMS is for my system because again, it's quite new. But there is not a lot of issues. Most issues are in fact user error. Framework 13 laptops work out of the box. All frameworks do because Framework has been adding in patches. Let's see, are they still here? Like, if we go up into the AUR, there's a lot of extra packages, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, they're mostly in the kernel themselves, but tons of stuff for that. You can zoom in and out of apps. You got good language support. Yeah, the only thing that I would ever call an issue is with Wine applications themselves, where they do not obey either X11 or Wayland's type of DPI scaling. That is it. Those are the only real issues that I would ever have. And that really just, I could still work in those situations. When those situations happen, I would honestly just go and lower my resolution of my main monitor and work that way if I needed to. So yeah, and Bazite as a distro is definitely not a go. That almost made me quit Linux. Using that was the most awful experience I ever had. I didn't even make a part 2 because I wanted to get as far away from it as I could. All right. Another thing is the streaming possible. You can ignore services. The output, again, you can adjust all your streaming settings. You can have AV1, H.265, H.264 for NVENC. These are my streaming settings. They're really extreme, by the way. You can do whatever type of recording you want. Everything is still possible within Linux. You just have to know where to go. Same with video editing. Like, there we go. There's DaVinci's Resolve. The only thing you're not going to have is an Adobe video editing application, which is completely understandable. I wouldn't use it even if I was paid to. It's basically been turned into malware. Their terms of service basically lets them see everything you're doing, even right now. They are under multiple lawsuits at the moment. So avoiding anything related to Adobe is a must in this day and age. And if you need alternatives for Photoshop, there's Affinity Photo. I just showed it off. There's Affinity Designer. There's Affinity Publisher. Affinity has apps to pretty much cover almost all of it. And I hopefully soon, they'll be working on more, because I would love for the entire Adobe ecosystem to just crash and burn. It's just buggy. It's been broken for years. There's been multiple crashing issues. Even in Hollywood, they're replacing Adobe with DaVinci's Resolve. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. This video was a lot longer than I expected, but I hope it helps somebody understand that you can do anything you need to in Linux. And about gaming day one, 99% of games day one will work flawlessly on Linux without any issues. That's how it's been over the last couple of years. Doom the Dark Ages needed a single fix and it was done almost instantly. That's how good things have been. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video somehow, and I'll see you guys next time.